Welcome to Attican Plays Railway Empire. Alright, hi, this is Attican and welcome to the continuation of our Railway Empire Back to Basics series. Justin wrote a comment asking me if I'd ever considered doing a video of all the characters and their characteristics and the strategies you might use with the characters on the various scenarios. And I wrote back to him saying, yes, I'd thought about that many times, never got around to it. I'm not sure exactly what I said to him, but what I meant to say was I'd thought about it, hadn't done it, but it would be a great fit for this Back to Basics series. So that's what I'm going to try to do here, is talk through the characters and their strengths and weaknesses as they are now versus, and I will refer to what they used to be a little bit, and what I might recommend you use if you're looking for, maybe the quote best unquote way to play these various scenarios. So let's just go into Metropolis, and we'll just have to kind of look at them one at a time here. And I'm not going to mess with any of this stuff. We're just going to flip right into it.
We shall conquer them all.
And I think I'm going to turn off their voices so that we don't have to listen to that constantly. I basically had to just turn the sound off in order to keep these guys quiet. But first of all, the only way you can really see the characters is to open up a scenario or something where you're getting ready to play. So let's just look at them first of all. The general. The general is pretty straightforward. You get a discount on track. Now, you will lay a lot of track, particularly if you do the way I tend to play. I tend to double track almost everything. And that means I lay a lot of track. And the general could, of course, save a lot of money with that kind of an approach. And but it kind of... I don't know. I'm not a big general fan because you don't get, it costs more to hire the staff, which is no big deal. It's just a minor expense. That's just the fee you pay for hiring the staff. But this one kind of gets me because if I'm getting a discount on track and every time I build a tunnel or a bridge, I have to pay more for it, and that's the most expensive item in your track laying, it just seems to me like he's at best a neutral character. But he's fine. He's a neutral character. So the next one here, the gangster. I think there are some really good gangster players out there. I'm not one of them. But he's pretty obvious in the sense that he gets more income on freight, so you want to carry a lot of freight, which you'd think would work for me great because I'm a city builder kind of player, and I tend to focus on freight more than passengers and mail. But he gets less money from passengers and mail. He gets no office employees, so he doesn't get any of those benefits from station master and surveyor and all those that can reduce your auction prices, reduce your track laying, have your trains turn around faster. He gets none of those. And the auctioneers at the start of the game, I don't find them useful at all because you don't really want to buy stuff at the beginning of the game. You don't want to go in and buy a competitor's factory at the beginning of the game. It just doesn't make any sense. So that one to me doesn't help. That's a definite negative. That's a definite negative. And so he gets some more freight. So he's kind of meh. To me, he's kind of meh. The industrialist is also surprisingly neutral. Very, very useful, obviously, for the cheaper factories. The shy, this 50% more on auctions, not a big deal. But to be able to just go in and buy a town, a factory, anytime you want it, just go buy it. That's really useful. And placing new factories cheaper is really useful if you're particularly in a city growth kind of a scenario where if you have to do a lot of city growth, he can be very strong because you want to control the industries and get the right industries in the right towns so that you promote the growth, and that can be very useful. So the industrialist is to me fairly strong. Now, the engineer, I'll tell you that I used to play Trixie all the time. And the reason I played Trixie, this is back in the original game when it first came out, Well, she got a 30% discount on locomotives. And that just, to me, that was just so strong because I'm kind of a train spammer. I run a lot of trains. Well, my word, he gets them 70% cheaper. And I've said this before. I thought that was a misprint when I first read it, but it's true. His trains are just like, they don't cost anything. And the way I do the train setup and what I found to be the optimal number of trains to run in general, I can save more money from those trains than I can save from track from the general. So to me, he's much stronger than the general. He's stronger than almost anybody. Free maintenance buildings are great because then you can, what's really great about them to me, besides the fact that they're free, which is awesome, is that you can spread your maintenance out now, and you can put maintenance out on the rural stations and the city stations and the warehouses and spread it out so that even though he may be slower with his repairs, if you spread it out where the trains are getting repaired all over the place and not just in one place, because that's all you can afford to build is one place for them to all get repaired, you can speed things up. And here's the big downer on him, though. Upgrading businesses costs a lot more. It's extremely expensive to upgrade a business with Doc. So you don't really want to necessarily get into the owning. He's like the opposite of the industrialist in that way. You don't want to own a lot of businesses. But you know, as we know, if you got a lot of city growth to do, you're going to want to own the businesses. So you might tend to run Roger, the industrialist, for city growth scenarios, and the engineer for those that are more like expansion and do a lot of business fast or that kind of stuff. This one is really not as bad as it seems because many times, if you're playing well, in a scenario, by the time you get to the point where you need to upgrade your businesses, you've got a lot of money and you can afford it. So this is one you can overcome. It's a big deal, but you can overcome it. This one I don't find a problem at all, particularly when we spread our maintenance all over, and this is amazing. So the engineer to me is extremely strong character. Now, this is the strongest character, particularly once you get the specialty cars. Once you have the dining car and the mail car, and you can get more income from passengers and mail, and then you can get a double bonus from ticket revenues for your express trains. You start running passenger and mail lines, and you get those cars on there for bonuses, and you print money. She just absolutely prints money. Slower repairs are a bit of a pain, but it's no big deal. And if you think about how her whole thing is running passenger lines, right? Well, you want to run multiple passenger lines, and you want to have frequency coming in and out of your station so that you pick up as many passengers as possible. You can't just sit there and wait till they're full and run like you would with freight, because the passengers will time out and say, no, I'm not waiting, and they'll take coach. So you want to run multiple trains through frequently. So even if there's a repair, it's no big deal because the train's in there. It takes a little bit longer to get repaired and come out, but then you got another train coming in behind it. It's no big deal. So she's really strong. And the less income on freight, the trick with her then, of course, is set up an economic engine based on getting passenger and mail going. So your engine is so strong that you don't mind getting less on freight. And you can still make money on the freight, of course, just the same way as with Don Lorenzo. You can make money on passengers, absolutely. You just make a little bit less. So she's just amazing. And it just blows me away when I've tried to play some of the scenarios with other characters and then go in and play them with her, that it's just a different world. It's just so easy when you play with the lady. And then the trickster. She used to be absolutely my favorite, and now she's probably she's got nothing going for her. Way less innovation, so your research grows extremely slowly. However, if you're making money, she gets way more spies. So you don't do the research yourself, but if you have enough spies, you just keep stealing the research from everybody else. So you can actually overcome this with this, but you have to be making money to do so, right? And the savings on the auctions are something, but it's not a huge amount. So she's just, she's like, if you want to challenge yourself, use the trickster. That's what I would say. If you want to challenge yourself, use the trickster. And yes, can you play successfully with her? Absolutely. Of course you can. You can use any of the 6 characters. So let's just flip through them again real fast. The general, kind of neutral, perfectly fine, strong track construction, as long as you can avoid bridges. The tunnels, I avoid tunnels anyway, except when I absolutely have to build one. But if you avoid bridges or keep your bridges fairly small, he can be okay. The gangster is okay. I'm not good with him. Others, I think, are. If you know a good way to play with the gangster, put it in the comments. We'd love to know. The industrialist, again, solid, really good city growth guy. Engineer, really strong. Really, really strong. The lady, the best. For me, no, hands down. And I can tell you, those of you who've been with me a long time, I'm a freight guy. I'm not a passenger mail guy, but my word, she's just off the charts good. And the trickster is just, let's make it challenging. So let's talk about, it doesn't matter which one we use. We'll go in as the trickster, and we'll look at Metropolis and think about what I just said and see how it would apply to this. Oh, and by the way, if you'll, some of you have been wondering why hadn't he gone ahead with Metropolis? Because remember, I started it with Don Lorenzo. To be honest with you, it's because I sucked. I did not like what I did there. You will not get a perfect score doing what I did, and I'm having a hard time making myself finish it. I played it out and recorded it, and I got a president rating, but whoop-de-doo. But I didn't get a perfect score, and I just sucked. It just sucked. So I'm not going to finish it with that. I'll do a do-over. If I do it again, I will do it again. I'll start over. But let's look at what you have to do in this one. We know it's about city growth, right? City growth, city growth, city growth. Controlling industries, Roger would be a good fit. Clothing and liquor to New York. Specific industries, started early, needed right away. Roger is a good fit. Toy trains is no big deal. Average balance with a bunch of active trains. Who would be good at that? Well, the lady would be great. Doc would be great. Roger would be fine. Any of them would be fine for that. Honestly, the way I play that one is a nothing task. That's a nothing task. These two, the clothing and liquor, and doing them early, it's kind of just, Roger's kind of jumping out at me as the one to use. But you could also use, the lady would be great, Doc would be great. Don Lorenzo, I think, is okay, particularly if you do it a little differently than what I did in that one I showed you. And if you really want to see this as a perfect score, go back and watch the one I did, and I used the lady. And it was so easy. It was just so easy. And that's not true. That's not true. This one, by the way, they call it medium. It's just one of the hardest ones. I think they've done us everybody a disservice by putting that in there as the 1830 East Coast sort of seems like the first scenario you'd play, and it's really hard. It is. This is a hard one. And I remember seeing on the Steam comments, people would write a lot of comments about how hard it was. So here's my advice to you as far as the characters go. Use Roger or Doc or Lady. And if you use Lady, in fact, any of them that you use, set up a ring. Go watch the video I did that got the perfect score to give you some ideas. But set up a line of passenger mail only stuff as kind of an outer loop around a bunch of cities: Baltimore, Washington, New York, Albany, Syracuse, Buffalo, maybe even Pittsburgh. And get that going with passenger mail revenue, then have an inner line with freight so that you can move freight around between them. Get into your clothing very, very early, and get into your liquor early, and then you're fine. So again, Roger, awesome. Lady, awesome. Doc, good. That's how I would look at this one. All right, let's go back and look at another one. Now we're looking at the Commodore. The second one starts in 1850. It's considered hard in the East Coast one here. And let's just go look at the tasks. We've talked about the characters in general. Let's look at the tasks. So connect cities, anybody. Quarterly profit, anybody. Okay, passengers to New York to Buffalo. Okay, that would kind of say lady. They're all going to kind of say lady, by the way. Grow Buffalo and send people to Buffalo. Well, Roger again would be strong to go in, put business in Buffalo, and grow it up so that you could then put a attraction in Buffalo, which would then attract more passengers, right? And have a direct line New York to Buffalo. And you could start it out similar to the first one, the earlier one, the Metropolis, by having a ring of passenger mail lines going around to connect everything up. Yeah, you could, this one, the lady would be awesome. Doc would be fine. Roger again would be good because of again building up Buffalo and getting all those passengers up there by building it up and setting up an attraction. The rail network is never a problem. 12 cities, again, always use rapid expansion, and I'll talk about that. I want to kind of back up here a second and talk about general strategies in a moment. Company value, buy somebody, express connection Toledo to New York. That just means, get yourself a nice long straight line. Use this as fast as you can. Expand to the west is what it's saying. It's the same three. Same three would be the best choices. Now I want to back up and talk about general strategies. To me, the thing that has worked for me over and over and over and over, and I think that's been true of other people who've kind of watched my videos and commented back to me, is rapid expansion. So I highly recommend that you learn that technique and figure and understand why it is the way it is, why you expand to 4 or 5 cities, why you put 2 stations in each city, why you go back and make sure that you have meat running into all the meat producers, and grain running into all the beer producers, and why you do it in that order. Truly understand that technique, and you can apply that to practically any free mode campaign, mission, or scenario you want to play. You can apply it maybe with some variation to all of them. So learn that and get that under your fingers, and you won't have any trouble with the starts of games. You'll be able to get an economic engine that works and gets you up and running and has you some income, so that you are now able to get stuff done. So I would apply rapid expansion to all of them, and it's just a general strategy. The other thing I would tell you is don't fall in love with warehouses. If you are doing scenarios or the DLC where it has some very difficult, particularly upfront kind of tasks to do, if you fall in love with warehouses, you'll find yourself never getting really high scores. And why is that? Because the warehouse is a big investment, and it takes a lot of time and money to feed the warehouse properly, to get it up and running. And as an original economic engine, warehouses are seldom the answer. So they can be. There are times when they are very, very useful. Australia, the Down Under one comes to mind for me. But as in general, a warehouse is not the way to go early. Now, to get big city growth and to move up into the bigger cities, 60, 80, 100,000, 120,000, stuff like that, warehouses are great. They're almost required. You can actually do it without them, but they're almost required to get enough traffic flow, enough freight moving in and out to get these cities to grow to big numbers. So remember rapid expansion or some variant of that early, and stay away from those 2-city, 3-city, 4-city cluster deals until you have for your first economic engine. And when you do, then don't even hesitate to start putting in your warehouses and building your clusters of cities to get your city growth. So and those general comments apply to every character. It's all the same. The other one we played around with quite a bit was actually the pass-through rural station, where we would actually connect two cities, and they would run between some rural station that had a good that maybe both of them could use, and that way you're running a lot of full trains. Now that has a great side and a bad side. The great side is that you can really get full trains running very, very quickly, and when you have full trains, you're making money, right? And so spam trains like Doc. Doc in that strategy go hand to hand, running full trains and getting full loads going very quickly. The bad side of it is it's really your city growth gets out of control because you don't have the control and the planning the way you would have a cluster set up with a warehouse or whatever. You don't have the same kind of planning and control, and it's much more difficult in my mind to try to control how you're going to build and make sure that you're getting the growth in the cities that you're trying to achieve. So so this pass-through rural station technique is really useful for immediately getting money going, and I think we'll come to it in a minute. There's one of the scenarios where I used it to get a perfect score, and it worked just fine. But honestly, I think that, again, rapid expansion is the way you want to go, then morph into your clusters of cities for city growth, and that's about it. So this one here, again, rapid expansion, and use the lady, use Doc, use Roger. I think I'm going to keep saying the same thing over and over. If that's true, I'll just stop here in a moment. Let's go look at another one. Okay, hunger for raw materials in 1890. It's considered hard. Whoops. Try that again. Hunger for raw materials, 1890. It's considered hard. You're in Charleston, South Carolina. Let's go. Let's see what the tasks are for this one. Okay, so connect some cities, rapid expansion. Company value, rapid expansion, and maybe buy some businesses. Mostly rapid expansion. Connect a bunch of people, rapid expansion. Believe it or not, just keep expanding. You'll get more and more cities connected. You'll cut off your competition, and you will start the city growth, early city growth in all those cities because you're running beer meat lines all over the place. Own some industries and businesses. Roger. Deploy 30 trains. Anybody. Cheapest, obviously, would be Doc. Transport steel, transport petroleum. Now, again, Roger, because you have to control, in this case, what industries get built where. And that would be the key for something like this and this. And connect, okay. And we get into big city growth. Roger. Buy somebody out. This one, to me, Roger would be great. The lady's always great. Doc is always good. That's kind of how I look at it. So you could use Doc for sure. You could absolutely use the lady. Look at this, dude. Let's just imagine if we did the lady, we would do 5-city rapid expansion lady style, which is a variation where you do passenger and mail lines to connect them all up, and then you go back and put your freight lines in for those 5 cities. So now you got 5 cities just making you a lot of money, growing, company value would come up very quickly. Then you would keep expanding to get more and more people to your network. And you would also then look at when am I going to morph over into city growth, because you can also get your people from city growth. So the art of this would be deciding when do I get into owning these businesses. This is no problem. And getting the steel and petroleum and planning that out. So the Doc would be, I think, a bad choice because of this. Because to transport all this steel and all this petroleum, you're going to have to upgrade some businesses to make them produce more and to produce faster. And Doc is going to have to pay a lot of money for that, and you need to move quickly on this. So you've got 1890 to 1903. What's that? 10, 13. You know, you've got to get a perfect score. You got to go really fast on this. So I would say lady or Roger. the industrialist or the lady would be the way to go on this one, and use rapid expansion, either standard rapid expansion with Roger or the lady variant where you do the passenger and mail first and then come back and do the freight second, and you would be in great shape. Okay, what's next here? Let's go out here to the automobile. This one is a hard one, and it's considered hard. It's set in the Midwest. We're in Chicago, and I always play these on very hard. Okay, we don't have any snowfall or territories. Let's look at the task for it and think about characters and strategy we'd use. Okay, connect cities. Yeah. Okay, transport steel, transport gasoline very, very quickly. Grow 3 cities, transport a bunch of automobiles, produce a lot of automobiles, and if he'll get out of the way, grow Toledo, buy out everybody, and produce gasoline. Well, I mean, we're getting the same answer here, aren't we? Roger, great fit, because again, you're going to have to buy a bunch of businesses, own them, upgrade them. Wouldn't want Doc, because we got to do that so early. Lady is always great. I don't care what scenario. She's always great because you just do the lady variant rapid expansion. You get this one going. You get a big economic engine, and you just use her money to brute force your way through the rest of these. Doc, again, would be great because you can set up your steel and your gasoline and your oil to feed the gasoline and your coal and iron to feed the steel. He would be really good at that. And then city growth is Roger's excellent. Roger, all of them would work. I would not, again, this is another one I would stay away from Doc unless you want the challenge because of the need to transport so much of this. You would have to either go out and buy a whole bunch of little businesses all over and run stuff all over the place, or what you'll probably end up doing, the more reasonable thing would be have a steel industry and keep upgrading it, and you wouldn't want to pay that fee for Doc. So I would run... Roger would be great on this. In fact, it's interesting. I'm learning something. The more I see this, the more I realize how much I like Roger as a character. Maybe even number 2 when you think about these different scenarios. Let's go look at another one. Let's look at Gone with the Headwind, because this is one I get a lot of requests to play this one. I think this is the only one I don't have a perfect score recorded out there for you in the base game scenarios. And I'll explain why when I pull this up. And I think this one has to be Roger, doesn't it? Yeah, this one has to be Roger. So let's go in here. Well, first of all, okay, I suggest you choose Roger for this one. But while we're on it, let's just look at a couple quick things now. And this is one of those that gives you more tasks as you go along. But this very first task is why I haven't played this in the Pursuit of Perfection series, because see, to get Atlanta to 50,000 in the time that they want to get a perfect score, you have to do it by the end of 1850. Well, the problem is that you can go straight in and start feeding like beer meat, Atlanta, Augusta, feed the cattle into Atlanta, feed the grain into Augusta, to make them continue with the beer. So you got beer meat, feed the grain to Atlanta. In other words, you could have Atlanta growing the whole time and not have a perfect score on that first task because without a promoter, it will not grow fast enough. And that's why I just haven't played it again, because to me, getting a promoter early is luck. You don't know if you're going to get one or not, and I can't play this through pure skill and get a perfect score, so it kind of turns me off a little bit. But a lot of people have requested it, and maybe someday I'll go back and play it again, and we'll give it a shot. And I do know we can get a theoretical perfect score at the end, even if we got a green check mark on this first task. Even if we didn't get a perfect score on that, if we got all the rest of them done and we got those last few perfect score, we could probably still get an overall perfect score. But to me, it would have an asterisk on it. So I don't like that one. But Yeah, on this one, we can't even really look at the task. So let's go back. Let's go back to another scenario. Let's do one more. I'm getting a little tired of this. Let's go out to the west and do my favorite scenario. People have asked me, many people have asked me, what's your favorite? This is my favorite by far. This is the one I learned the game on. This is the one I kept going back to. What in the world? This one. Oh, this one you don't have any competitors. That's right. Okay, so it's considered hard. I love this one. Let's just go into it and let's look at the task list. And I hope it shows us. Yeah, it shows us the whole one. Good. Connect San Francisco, Shasta, Carson City. That's much harder than you might think it is because of the geography. I'll show you. Here, I'll show you. Look at this. We're here, and because of the geography, we have, San Francisco, Shasta, Carson City, and Sacramento. Both of these are doing meat. Both of these are doing beer. So it's really clumsy. Going through that mountain is extremely expensive. Even trying to build something. I did one where I did a line just to prove I could do it to myself. I built a line with no bridges and no tunnels that went from except for over this river, that went from San Francisco to Carson City. No other bridges and tunnels other than this one. And and had to wind through all of this, and it was something. But it was just more of an exercise because it's too expensive and too slow. So this one's hard for that reason. But let me go back to what we were doing here. Connect to cities, bunch of freight, a bunch of passengers. Okay, as long as you're growing fast, so rapid expansion, you're fine. You can get these. The gold is a special thing where you have a specialty building in San Francisco called Wells Fargo Bank, and they request a carload of gold per day. Let's look at our demand for, if we go down to gold, which is a special thing, and this is not implemented the same as the rest of them. It says a carload a day. It should have a weekly demand. Most of them have a weekly demand of 7 right there, which is a carload a day or 7 a week. So it's telling you have it, but this one was probably built before they started setting it up that way. Anyway, you could easily do rapid expansion. I think they're in there an express train to Express San Francisco, LA. That express line can be a very big moneymaker for you once you get that set up. Screams for the lady, right? The lady could do this one really well. Don Lorenzo would be okay because of all the, you could transport the gold and make money. You'd have like an unlimited need for it, demand for it practically. So you could run gold into San Francisco and make a lot of money. Don Lorenzo would be okay with this one. 200 liquor, you need to get on that, but it's not too bad. And it doesn't really say, do Roger, because that one's easy. Now, where Roger comes in would be the 8 cities of 800,000. So you're going to need 4 2-city clusters or a couple of 3-city clusters and a 2 or whatever, or however you want to grow your cities. But that's going to do some city growth. That does kind of say Roger, but it also says the lady or Don Lorenzo. Don Lorenzo would be okay on this one, I think. Maybe I'll try that sometime. Growing Carson City to 100,000. That was the hardest task in my perfect score run. This one was the one I cut the closest. In fact, I think someone pointed out I made it by 1 day. So that one is the job, getting all the way to Carson City and growing Carson City. That really takes some focus. And then growing all the cities takes some work. So one of the cities you want to grow is Los Angeles, obviously, because you want to build a university there. And then you have to do this one as a bonus to go all the way out to Salt Lake City from San Francisco with a direct line. So this one is very similar to Mission 5 of the campaign missions, but with some twists, with very difficult twist right there, and fairly difficult right there, the liquor, but it's not too bad as long as you don't lose sight of it. And these are actually pretty easy, provided you get everything set up well. But who would we use? Well, General will be okay. We said Don Lorenzo would actually be surprisingly good on this one to me. The lady's always good. Doc would be fine. Save all that money on the trains would be great. Roger would be Roger would be okay because of the city growth. He's always good for that. I would do the lady on this. Obviously, you do the lady on all of them, of course. That's the answer. But let's see, the lady or Don Lorenzo would probably be great. I don't think I've ever done it with Don Lorenzo. Again, maybe I'll go back and try that one. All right, so I'm going to stop. I hope you get the idea. Let me kind of recap what I wanted you to get out of this. Number one, rapid expansion is the way to go to get yourself started. If you play any bit like I do, okay? I'm not saying it's the only way you could play. There's lots of other ways to play this game, and I'm sure there are much better players than me out there. So, but if you want to play kind of like me, or if you're learning from the videos I'm making, I'm telling you, use rapid expansion in some form or fashion in all these scenarios, and you'll be perfectly happy. Use the lady for everything, you'll be perfectly happy. Doc would be okay for everything. Roger would be great for city growth. Don Lorenzo, if it's got a heavy freight focus like this one, he's fine. The General is kind of neutral to me, and he would be perfectly okay. I mean, you got to lay a lot of track. This one, in fact, you have to lay a lot of track. San Francisco to Salt Lake City's a long way. That's a lot of expensive track. He'd save you a lot of money, but you're not doing that until later, so he doesn't help you that much. Beatrix, the trickster, is that right? No, Beatrix is the lady. Trixie, the trickster, is a bit of a dud now. Stay away from her unless you're looking for a challenge. And that's it. Those are the characters. The strategy, again, is as simple as it can be. Oh, and the other thing, don't fall in love with warehouses too fast. Don't try to build your initial economic engine with a warehouse. Build it with expansion and get stuff moving. And study that rapid expansion and understand why it is the way it is. I'll link to it for you here, but get that one under your. If you get that one down, you should be good. And if you get off to a good start on all of these, you're in great shape. If you get off to a poor start, you got no chance. I mean, this is just. I know this sounds so obvious. Why am I even saying it? But people just forget the start is the game. It is. The start is the game, particularly in a puzzle game like this that has a timer on it. The start is the game. So learn how to start strong, and you start strong with rapid expansion and with a character who can take advantage of it, like Lady or Doc, or any of them can, of course. And if you have a lot of city growth and want to do a lot of industry, get Roger. And otherwise, I think you're good to go. So hopefully you found that helpful. And let me know if you have any questions about anything. Put them in the comments, and I'll be happy to respond to you. And get out there and use rapid expansion and conquer all these scenarios. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it'll help you become a better player. I hope you'll like, comment, and subscribe, and join us for our next Railway Empire video. Thank you.